And you know, yesterday I was talking to my girlfriend and she said, girl, Lurline, you're supposed to be following the rules. And I said, no, honey, this is improv. You break the rules. She said, what? I said, yeah. She said, no. I said, mm-hmm. We doing improv today, so we gonna break the rules. Let's get started. Don't ask me who in the world Lurline is. She's just an improvisation of my imagination. So I figured we've done some very interesting blocks where we've done some string piecing and we've done some foundation paper piecing. We're about to do some applique in a future block, but we haven't done anything improvisational. Well, we kind of have and we kind of haven't. We've done a crumb block where some people did struggle with that. So I figure this week we're going to push the boundary a little bit and do some improvisation to help people break free of those rules. So we're going to be doing an improvisational log cabin block. And so to make this block, you're just going to need strips. They could be strings, they could be strips. I just got strips here. They're all random sizes. In fact, I might cut some of these down to some random sizes. Now these strips here, these were leftovers from previous blocks that we've done. They're all 2.5 inches, well, except these white strips here, but they're all 2.5 inches. Well, maybe this isn't 2.5. No, that's definitely not 2.5, but they're case in point, they're just varying sizes or varying widths and varying lengths. And so improvisation is just basically something free form. You just kind of go with the flow on it. And there are certain rules that you can follow, but you don't have to necessarily follow those rules to a T. You're allowed to break some of those rules just to make it fit the situation. So I figure with improvisation, that'll help some of you people that want to keep everything in order. Hopefully this will help you break free of that. So to make this quilt, you're just going to need strips. They're varying sizes, they're varying lengths, varying widths. Just gather whatever strips you got in your stash. They could be leftover pieces from a different project, and they don't even have to make sense. They don't have to have any particular color story. Okay, case in point, look, just grab whatever strip sizes you got. They could even be strings in your stash. It's improv. We're gonna make the rules, but we're gonna break them anyway. So let's just go for it. All right, so I got all these strips here and I pulled this piece of crumb out from my little, I shouldn't say little, but my crumb bin. And it does not have to be a perfect size. In fact, this, if you see this one, it's kind of a little bit crooked here on the edge, which is perfectly fine. And all we're gonna do is we're gonna grab a strip and we're gonna start sewing on one side. I'll just grab that strip and we'll just start sewing the piece together. And I'll cut this away. We'll finger press that away from the center. And I'm just going to trim it. Trim it down. Okay. Throw that in there. Then I'll grab this. Let's go with this pink. And maybe I'll put it on this side. We'll go around in the circle, and even when I line it up, I'm not going to even line it up perfectly. If I want to, I can go at a bigger angle, Go like that. Yeah, that looks good. And we'll just sew it together. You're off there. Okay, then I can trim off the excess there. Notice I didn't even use a ruler on that one. I'll finger press that back. Then, okay, this one I'm going to use a ruler so I can get a nice straight edge there. Right, throw that in the mix. Okay, then let's see. I'll use this green, but this green's a little bit thick. And I'm just going to cut it down to whatever size. That looks good. I'm not even going to bother cutting the selvage off. I'm just going to leave it on for now. Or I am going to start sewing, leave a little bit of overhang here. Just right sides together. Finger press this back. Okay, then grab a ruler, cut it off there, straighten out that edge. Okay, then let's do this orange, but this orange is again a little bit thick for me, so we'll cut it. Actually, let's just sew it. We'll add it to the side here. And we're going to give it a little bit of overhang. Actually, we're giving it a lot of overhang. So this is a bit big, so I'm just going to cut it right there. Throw that back in the pile. Okay, so I started off with the blue, this dark navy blue here in the center, and I went around just like a log cabin style, sewing strips of varying widths and varying lengths, not really caring about whether I sew them on straight or not. Just did basically one complete circle, so my first round, as I would call it, is now done. In the middle of each round, I'm going to actually press this block so that the seam allowances will lie flat, and so when I go to do the second round, I have a much easier time. So first of all, let me trim this orange off, or the excess of this orange. We'll trim it off. And I'm gonna cut it down, or cut the orange pieces down. And I'm not even gonna care about what angle I have it. I cut it at a funky angle. So yep, we got our first round done. Let's go and press this block. I did the first round and I got it all nicely pressed. Now we're gonna just do round two with the same thing. So I'm just gonna grab a strip, sew it onto a side, and when I sew on all four sides, we're gonna do another press. Let's keep going and build this block out. So I started to sew my third round of strips, and so just to recap, I started with this dark navy blue, then did one round, whoops. Then here we start the second round. Now with this red, I'm starting the third round. Now in between each round, I was pressing or just hitting it with the iron just to get the seams to lie a little bit more flat. One thing I wanted to mention, you don't necessarily have to line up your strips right here on the edge. On pieces where it's really thick like this red one, for example, I could put this white strip at an angle like this. I can sew it on like so, and then After I sew it, I'm going to trim it. And, well, this excess piece can go in my scrap bin. What I could also do is just sew the strip like this, following the same angle as the red. Then just flip it backwards. I could also just cut it right now to whatever size I need to, or I could even cut it at an angle to whichever angle I want to. The choice is yours. Okay. Or I could just leave it like this. Now, when you have wide strips like that, this fabric is really going to be noticeable because look at the width of some of these other fabrics here. I'm probably going to trim this down a little smaller so that it's not so in your face in this whole block. But again, when you have a strip that's really wide like this, you could either take the next strip and just kind of sew it in. You could cut it off a little bit, cut it at an angle, make the block a little bit more interesting. So yeah, it's improv. Just make up something and make it work. So I'm gonna cut this angle for a second, and we'll continue on with the block. So again, starting with that navy blue in the middle, doing 1, 2, 3, then 1, 2, 3 at the top, 1, 2, 3 here on the left, 1, 2, 3 here at the bottom. Now, I'm looking to actually make a 6.5-inch block. Even though this block is kind of wonky, it's not really centered, can I get a 6.5-inch square out of this? And not quite. So I can either do one of two things. I could sew another strip on this side, or I could move the ruler over and sew another strip on this side. But what I also want to be aware of is how close are these seams going to be to the edge. So I don't necessarily want to sew a strip on this side and cut it here, because look at where that seam lands. That seam is right there on the 1/4 inch, in which when I sew this block to another piece of fabric or sew it into the quilt, this white strip is going to just disappear into that seam allowance. What can I do in this situation? Well, here I have a number of options. Now, I purposely sewed a thicker strip here to the edges on this, what is that, 3rd round. Now, the wider you go, or the more rounds that you do, the wider the strip should be. This is because if in the case where you do have it just about 6.5, like this, but maybe you just want to add in another strip just to make it exactly that 6.5 inches, well, here's what you can do. I'm actually just gonna cut this down, and then we'll put, let's see, this is a pretty thick strip that I didn't cut down. So I'm gonna cut this down. This can go in my crumb bin. I'm gonna sew on this nice thick 2.5-inch strip of this purple or lavender. And when I go to sew this, is that actually going to be big enough to make a 6.5-inch block? And yes, it is. So let's sew this strip on, and then let's trim this block down. You know, an old friend? Well, I shouldn't say an old friend, but kind of an old friend, but still kind of a new friend. It's back. The elixir is now back. Well, it's not the same elixir as before. I still miss my cranberry juice, but it'll do. This week it's almond milk. Who knew you could get milk out of a nut? Well, in case you didn't start the series from day 1 or from early on, or maybe you joined midway through, let me tell you the story behind the elixir. You see, the very first block that I did, we had an epic meltdown.
My seam ripper is named Jack. The problem is, I couldn't find Jack.
Jack, where are you? Come on out. Where could he be? Can't find Jack. Don't know where he's heading. I guess this is a sign that I just need to clean up this quilting space. Yeah. I don't know. Oh wait, what's that?
You know, sometimes when you have those moments and you're looking for something and basically you just kind of lose it, and then this happens.
He left me alone! And I got all this fabric to sew! But Jack left me! Oh, got it! Found it. Okay. I finally found him. Hiding in a dark corner somewhere. Yep. Just like a meatball, he probably fell down on the floor and rolled out the door. But here's Jack. Now, but by week number 2, I had the help of a very, shall we say, special friend. Take a look at this video. I need to redeem myself this week, so we're doing another block that involves a whole ton of half square triangles. But this time, I have a magic elixir. That's good. Don't worry guys, this is really cranberry juice. No, seriously, it is. I had a friend who was shopping at Costco and he bought 2, or actually 4 of those big containers of cranberry juice, and he said, hey, I'm not going to drink all of this, you want some of it? And I'm like, sure. Now, let's take the magic elixir and let's get this block started. And so since then, there's been some catchphrase to the whole series, or a running joke in the whole series about this elixir. Yep. Then 2022 rolled around and I got some bad news. Take a look at this clip. I went for a physical checkup late in 2021 and doctor said my blood sugar level way too high. Yeah, I'm a full-blown diabetic now. So I have to cut out the carbs and I definitely have to cut out the sugar, which also means I have to cut out the cranberry. Doctor says, yeah, no carbs, no sugar, no social life. So I need to find a new elixir. So it was bye-bye cranberry juice and hello health drinks. Yeah, wasn't as good. Still not as good. Well, what can you do? I mean, when your health is in trouble, you take action. So I did. And in the process, lost a lot of weight. Well, that was more or less the side effect to everything. I'm happy with where I am now. Tangent to all of that, though. There's been a handful of people that were kind of commenting on the videos, hey, you shouldn't be drinking on the video, or it's just so rude for you to be doing that. The elixirs, well, I took them out of the video for a while just to keep those people satisfied. But then a larger handful of you said, hey, what's with the old elixir? Or what happened to all your elixirs? And when I started making mistakes with my blocks, people reminded me that you need to have your elixir. So it's back, people. Yep. And I missed it. My good old friend. You know, a while back, this is not the first improv quilt block that we're doing. We did a crumb block, or crumb star. I forgot what week that was, which definitely is more or less an improv block. And a lot of the comments that came back in those videos was that, yeah, some individuals had a hard time just sewing different pieces of fabrics together or different sizes. They needed a little bit more structure to however they choose their fabrics or however they sew their pieces together. You know, improv is all about, well, just that, improvisation. But I know some people, I used to be one of them, Some people have a difficulty trying to do an improv or trying to do anything improvisational. That's my question of today, or for this video, is are you someone that needs to have everything in order, everything matched up, everything in line? Are you an OCD quilter? Or are you an OCD piecer? Let me know in the comments down below. Do you have difficulty doing an improv? Or are you one of those free-spirited people where saying, just let it flow, let it go? You have no problem. Let us know in the comments down below. Yeah, I used to be one of those where everything had to have its own place. I wouldn't call that OCD, but you know, when I started looking at all of my smaller pieces like this, you know, it wasn't exactly the right size, but I didn't want to waste it, so that's when I learned about crumb quilting. Once I started doing crumb quilts, it was like a whole nother door or a whole nother world just opened up for me. And I learned that quilting doesn't have to be so exact, and a lot of quilters are never exact, like me. And their 1/4 inch is never really a 1/4 inch. It's a 1.5 and a 0.99999. That would be me. Some people have to just struggle with improvisation. I used to be one, but until I found out that you could break those quilting, so-called quilting rules, the world just started opening up. And a lot of the improvisational things that I came up with were, you know, they just started freeing up my creativity. And I started having fun with quilting. Isn't that the name of the game, or the reason why we even do it in the first place? I do find that whenever I do some type of creative work, or even some improvisational things, my workspace, okay, I'll let you in on a little secret here. Yep, that's the real me right there. No, I'm not showing you what's on the other side of the room there. No, I'm not even going to show you what's over there either. I'm a messy creator. And the thing is, I tend to believe that the more messier I get, or the more creative I try to be, the messier I get, but the better the outcome. Hey, that's just how I am. Are you a person that is a messy creator? Would you call yourself a messy creator? Or are you really one of those people that like to be creative, but you have to have everything in order? Sometimes when I have things too much in order, yeah, that becomes a detriment to itself, or an obstacle in and of itself. Sometimes people thrive in chaos, and sometimes they thrive in organization. Where are you on that spectrum? Put a comment down below and let me know, are you a messy creator, or are you a neat person, or a neat freak? I live to create in the chaos. Yeah, when things are a little too organized, yeah, well, I just find myself being disorganized, as ironic as that sounds. So it looks like I got my last round all sewn on. Let's get this block pressed, and let's call this block done. And here is my improvisational log cabin block. Now, my block, well, I made it finish to 6.5 inches. You can make it as big as you want to, or as small as you want to. The choice is yours. It's your block. It's your quilt. You make it your own. But I wanted to make it a 6.5 inch size. It's not too small, but it's not too large either. When you reach the outer strips here, make sure that you're using wider strips so that if you do need to square it down, well, you just want to make sure that your seams here are not going to get caught in that 1/4 inch seam allowance. So make sure that you have enough space, or at least bigger than a 1/4 inch, so that this seam here on the edge is not going to get caught in that 1/4 inch seam allowance when you sew it to the quilt. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you have fun breaking all the rules and making your improvisational log cabin block. Now, as always, go out, break those rules, and create something. What am I doing? I'm getting lost in here. How do I look? How do they make them? Woo. Okay, wait, flip down. Okay, let's try this one.
Thanks for watching. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications on when I upload the next video. Put a comment down below saying what you liked or maybe even what you didn't like. And join the Facebook discussion group at Treasure Heart Creations. You can post pictures of the blocks that you created or just scroll through and gather inspiration from other Treasure Heart Creation Group members. And from time to time, there are giveaways exclusively for Treasure Heart Creation Group members. So use the link in the description box below to sign up. If you're on Instagram, post pictures of the blocks that you're working on using the hashtag THC5252. Well, that's it for now. Now go out and create something.